Hi, and welcome to this very special recording where I'm going to be talking about what it is to be in the World Cup, a game of two halves, where we're looking at mindset and the physical game. So I'm joined here in my virtual studio by the uber cool Lewis Buxton, ex-professional footballer in his first year of retirement now after having more than 200 appearances for Sheffield Wednesday and numerous others. We're now both working in the coaching space or the mindset, helping people with that. So we really want to talk about the recent game, really. England, it's everywhere, and very few people are talking about mindset. So great to have you here, Lewis. Good to see you, mate.
Thanks for having me.
So yeah, really, I think there's enough punditry out there. We both had a quick chat about this, kind of on the tactics and what's going on for people in terms of on the field. But we all know, or anyone who's ever done anything in sport knows that the other game that's being played is the one between your ears, right? The mindset side of things. And I don't know, with all the preparation and everything else done, and Gareth Southgate setting a really cool kind of statement at the beginning, Lewis, where he just said to the guys, all the prep work's done, just get out there and play. There's a variable, right? There's something going on that prevents. So why can't you just go out there and play? So I think that'd be really interesting to talk about. What does that mean for you to go out and play, and what prevents it, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, for me, going out there and playing is just playing freely like you would as a child. That's kind of my point of reference with it. Going out there and playing and enjoying it. And I guess if you're an England player going out there in days gone by, you had the pressure, kind of the golden generation of all the pressure and expectation that there is in England on your shoulders. And that's all to do with your mindset, isn't it? How you see that and how that affects your actions. So I think it's different this year. I think a lot of England fans and me as well, expectations are a bit dampened down than usual. But I really like the kind of team spirit you can see with them from the game the other night when Harry Kane scored that late goal. So it's a different type of tournament, and I think that England can go pretty far. There's no standout team. I see Ronaldo scored again today. So coming up against him is always going to be tough. But it's just about, like you said, getting that prep in, getting everything done that needs to be done, and then kind of forgetting it all and going out there and enjoying the game and playing the game as free as possible. So like you said, one of the hot topics is confidence that pundits always go on about, and I think everybody knows that in an ideal world it's nice to feel confident and everything goes your way. But I don't know about for you, but for me, there's times when I'm not confident. So
oh yeah, for sure. I think that's evident, and that's really interesting in how it played out in the game. I mean, that first 15-20 minute spell, seemingly when we were on the front foot, as it were, confidence seemed high, and then circumstances on the pitch seem to change, and and sometimes it can be quite quickly, and then they can suddenly say, that the confidence seems to be dropping, or it's not there, not as assertive. And I think one of those moments I think it'd be useful to pull out is for example, the penalty. When that happened, and there was the commentary, I think at that time referred to it as the heads had gone down a little bit after the penalty. Of course, the subsequent goal that went in, heads down, and I guess players then are not confident, right? And they're not playing with that freedom. There's some tightening up, and that can show up physically, right, in the body as well. You can actually feel tight and not as flexible even when your mindset changes.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I could think, of many games I've played in the past where, maybe the fans are on your back or something like that, or you play a bad pass and you feel like you're about 3 inches tall. But I think a lot of those players have been around long enough to know not to kind of buy into that, and you see that you don't need to be confident. How about that? How about we start spreading that? You don't need to be confident to go out there and perform your best. And that's something that you get a gist of when you play for a long period of time, because you start to recognise, I played really well that time, and before the game I was nervous, I was sweating, and I was, don't want to swear, but I was very
very warm. You're very warm.
fearful, yeah, a bit clammy.
Yeah.
And they've had a great game, so I think they all know that to an extent, and it looks to me like, with a manager like Gareth Southgate, who has come across and mentioned things like he sees the value in having a kind of a relaxed camp. You don't want to get into kind of forcing that down people's throat. You just let them be themselves. And I think in the past, players have moaned about not being able to spend time with their families and that kind of thing.
Mm.
So it seemed like a much more relaxed camp. Like you said, expectation is low, and I think if they don't buy into that confidence myth, then hopefully they'll, who knows, get to the quarters or something. I don't know what you think. What is
it's interesting, I guess, because I'm thinking about, I don't know, you said something there, I think, about that, you don't maybe need to be confident to put in a good performance, and I wondered how many players actually might recognise that or know that themselves, because I don't know, in my experience, coming from a business world, part of this conversation is that most people would say, how confident are you that we're going to secure this contract? How confident are you that this is going to happen? It's very much the same, right? A different dynamic. And I think business and sport are so closely intertwined, as it were, in all these domains. But there would certainly be those sort of questions, how confident are we? And confidence was definitely prerequisite in terms of the company feeling upbeat about prospects for future and what's going to happen. So you just saying, well, I don't know, that wouldn't, that maybe might seem that you're not even motivated to some people. Would you say that would be similar in sport?
Yeah, I think sometimes we think confidence is the magic ticket, don't we? We think that
Yeah.
if we've got it, life's great. If we haven't, then nothing's going to go well. So, and I think penalty shootouts are a great one, aren't they? I know we spoke about that earlier.
Yeah.
In general, when England go up and it's a penalty shootout, confidence is not too high. But
you don't have to be on the pitch for that. You can be behind the screen watching, and you're confident.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Other nations seem to have less problems with it. So
yeah,
I think a great thing is when you see you see through kind of needing confidence or feeling a certain way when you're playing, or like you said, if you're in a business environment, just allows you to deal with the facts a lot more, I think.
Yeah.
And the facts are that you step up to take a penalty in a World Cup final, but the chances are you spent your whole life trying to get there. You're going to have a bit of noise going in your mind of what might happen if you put it over the bar, and you might have to move house and go into hiding or something. Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
and
definitely.
It's had that, So who better to let players know that life goes on if that happens? And sometimes as a player, you build up a lot of stuff that you feel like this is all or nothing. If I don't do this, and if I'm not performing well, that the world's going to end. So it's just great to have someone like that who's clearly played at the highest level. He's got kind of the attributes and the experience that they've had, but also he's seen the tough side to it and knows that either way, he's okay. He's missed a penalty in a major tournament, Euro '96, and carried on, and he's managing his country. So I think they've got a real good kind of vibe about the team. That doesn't mean they're going to win it, but I hope they do. Who knows? There's no real massive front runner in my eyes, but like you said, he when you hear him talk about just going out there and playing, after obviously doing all the right prep that's needed.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, he's not wishy-washy saying, "Oh, just go out there and play and hope for the best." He's obviously got a plan, and you know, but it's
But that's
great.
what's happened with managers in the past, isn't it? To be fair, I mean, it's the managers, obviously, that's the most difficult job in the team, right? I mean, that's the one who gets the most stick and the highest profile for things going wrong. Either for a player's mistake, i.e., can often reflect back to the manager. If not on that game, certainly after a few games, it's his head that ends up rolling while the player still carries on the team under the next guy. So I think that for the manager, thinking about his perspective, that he's, like you say, that the players themselves, the fitness levels can't change. You're going into that game, you've done your prep work. Their skill level, well, they're there because of the skill they've got, so that's not in doubt. So the only thing that really can affect the night is your thinking, really, isn't it? Is your mindset and how you view the game on the day. You apply yourself, I guess, on
Yeah,
the pitch. And you
well,
touched on something there about on taking penalties, on being nervous. And I don't know whether when players are in that position, whether it seems to me it'd be really useful for players to recognise that was kind of normal. Well, I think they wouldn't. Most people think when they get nervous or anxious that they need to do something about it. There's something wrong with them, or that they need to somehow manage that. Not that actually it's quite normal. Like you can relax because what is happening to you is normal.
yeah, yeah, and it's just good to be reminded of that. And I think somebody who knows that remind you of that from time to time, because like you said, there's times when you get anxious or nervous and you do anything to escape that feeling, but
Yeah.
it's the more you try and escape, the more it seems to come. So I think that's just a really important point. And if somebody is great at sticking the ball in the top corner, then the other variable is their mindset and what how much they buy into kind of nerves and how much they buy into a lack of confidence or a lot of confidence.
So
So
how do you make of that when that seemingly spreads like a bit of a virus in the team, like this, that we give away what it was a bit of a soft penalty, and then the collective heads go down, or you're reliant on whether it's a strong captain or someone who in the team is more vocal or something to sort of then pick people up metaphorically.
yeah,
Um, it's interesting how that can spread then. So I can see it'd be useful for people to understand. You've got people around the team who kind of understand what's really going on, that could make a difference to remind people that you got the rest, you got whatever it is, 70 minutes left.
yeah, definitely. People that don't get stuck on the past, don't sit on the goal that they've just let in 5 minutes go. Right, that's done. Let's move on. No, I heard. I listened to like Steve Jobs' podcast. This is often a bit of a tangent, but even
Yeah,
people like him, that's a quality that a lot of his employees recognised in him. That if a problem came up, same thing, miss a penalty for him, whatever, failed product, they just recognised that he was straight onto the next one, straight onto the solution, and that just is a big asset for people. I think just not like you said, your head goes down when you let a goal in, or there's a problem at work and people were fumbling and getting caught up talking about the thing that's gone in the past. I think that when you've got you understand your own mind, and you're not going to waste too much time in that bogged down state of mind. So I think that's really important, and you see that with the best teams in the world. When Man United were running the show with Alex Ferguson, they'd always pop up with a late goal, and they'd always go right to the line. So
yeah.
I think that shows that they've got that quality there from that performance, and that's a big asset. It takes kind of your level of performance and just bolts an extra bit on for me.
So that essentially what you're saying there about playing the ball that's in front of you, staying in the moment, whatever it is, not drifting off as you can when you think you might be losing a game, or whether you think you can win. It seems easy to say, but a lot more difficult to sort of carry out or execute in the real world, as it were. can imagine players saying now, well, it's easy for people chatting like we are now, to say, oh, don't worry, put it behind you and move on, versus the jobs of the world who can physically put it behind. And I think people that are closer to that reality of what's really gone on, truly knowing that you can't do anything about a past event, you can only deal with what you've got going in front of you. When you start to see that as a reality for yourself, that's when it just happens for you. You can be in the moment again. And I think that's the important thing for people to realise, that it is possible, because there's only ever the moment, as difficult as it is, right?
Yeah. As much as we think that it's not, that's always the case. So, like you said, there's a lot of value in that for people, and I think the more people see that within a team or an organisation, that's a big asset for that team and an organisation. So, they seem like they've got a bit of that with Southgate.
Yeah, definitely.
Call it what you want to call it, resilience, whatever you want to call it, but just understanding that what's gone is gone, and you need to move with the reality of the situation, rather than what it used to be like and what you thought about it back then. So
Yeah. No, it's fascinating, isn't it? So we had, so Kane, fortunately, in the extra time, they had done the deal, so we could all leave the pitch happy in that moment. Anyway, the same at home. So that was a crucial game to get out of the way, I think. And now Panama coming up, potential tricky one, and a lot on it. It would seem. I guess that's where thoughts are now, isn't it? That kind of win it, and you feel like you've got a toe in the
home and dry,
out of the group phase, versus lose it and you're teeing up a very difficult Belgian game before the whistle's blown. So there's all of that as well that's going on off the pitch. So we talked about what's on the pitch, but for players, what seems to unsettle the most is managing the off the pitch time, right? And all those thoughts that occur around that, as buoyed as they are. So what are you making of that?
Yeah, I think for me as a player, I kind of fell in a way of preparing for a game, which was similar to what Southgate mentioned, that you'd go and work really really hard and do all the training that you had to do, and then kind of on a Friday we'd just go to the cinema and I'd get a pick and mix. Yeah. My wife would go, "Should you be eating that?" I go, "Come on, I've got to play 90 minutes tomorrow," and that would be just like me having a bit of time out to myself, and go to the cinema on a Friday in Sheffield before it, and then go and play. And I guess that's like a hot topic in football, kind of superstitions, isn't it? That people, I've got to do this, I've got to put my boots on a certain way, and in reality, it doesn't make any difference. But to me, there's value in that time, kind of downtime where you forget about football. And although you don't want to get into kind of forcing that, and if I don't do this, I'm not going to play well. But if it's kind of like a natural thing for you, and you see the value in having a bit of time to yourself, because quite often you can play and you end up thinking about it for days ahead, and it gets in the way of you living your life. So it's nice to be able to see that there's value in just going and spending a bit of time and doing what you want before a game. You don't have to follow a certain method. You don't have to be thinking and visualizing. That's something that I learned in my career. You don't have to sit there and visualize scoring the winning goal the night before every time. You can just go and chill out for a bit. So, and a lot of players do that. They go and play video games or whatever, and have a bit of time to themselves. So it's, to me, towards the end of my career, I figured, I like, other people might be different, but to me, I like to have a bit of a chill out before a game, and that had a lot of value to me.
Well, it's interesting, that whole visualization thing. It'd be nice to explore that another time, I think, because that's something in whatever field you're in that you're, I know it's pretty rife. You're encouraged to do it. It's picture it how you would like it in a year's time, in 2 years' time, or what's going to happen at the weekend. You can go through it in minute detail, and to try and get yourself smelling the occasion as well. Be really immerse yourself in it, in the view that this is what might play out. And yeah, it'd be lovely to cover that as a topic, because I wonder what's going on in the camp in terms of these things, and your mind wandering off anyway, onto some of this stuff. Even when you don't want to, you could be visualizing an outcome, and you don't want to think about it, but yet you're thinking about it.
Yeah.
It's interesting subject. So I think there's lots more to come out. So I think it's it's been good to touch on a couple of these points. And I think it might be interesting to sort of uncover a bit more about what's going on, or people might be wondering now, so what are you saying? I can play, confidence isn't required, I can play without it and still put in a performance? Or it'd be like, so how do I do that? Or how do we stop our heads going down, when things are not going right? How do we do this and that? And I think it'd be interesting to address some of those at another time, maybe. But there's, for the moment anyway, I think that's a good couple of points that we've covered there. So really appreciate your input and diving in on that. You got anything else you want to wrap up with as a statement?
No, I just think that I say no, and then I'm gonna shut.
No, but
Yeah. Just the enjoyment, like you said, when you're not concentrating on being confident, or you're really focusing on a particular outcome. This World Cup, I've just really enjoyed doing it. Really enjoyed watching it. Say doing it, I haven't done anything but apart from sit and eat and watch it. But I've enjoyed just not really having anything on it and just enjoying each game. I think I ended up forgetting it was on at the start because I was so away with coaching and business and family and the rest of it. And then I had a bit of time, ended up watching 4 games in one day. So,
oh, wow.
I've just enjoyed it. And that's what it's all about. Like you said, when Southgate was saying, you've got to do the prep and the rest of it, but then give yourself a break and just get out there and do what you enjoy doing.
Okay, all right. So perhaps if that's interesting to you, how do you do more of that? How do you have that happen? Stay in the moment, be into it, enjoy what you're doing, play with freedom, and almost with nothing on it, even though everything's on it, right?
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to talk about that. So great way to sum up, mate. So thanks again for the conversation. I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens from here for the chaps, and fingers crossed, mate.
Yeah. All the best to them.